Hi everyone, I'm Madeline Park, stylist and vintage fashion hound. I believe everything has a story, whether it be clothes or the people that wear them. For season 2 of Style Stories, I want to get out of the house, but find a place where I still felt at home, like Lucio's, the iconic Italian restaurant known for its colour and charm. My guests tip their hat to Lucio's by seasoning their stories with a taste of art, food and family, but always bringing to the table their unique sense of style. Today I'm chatting to Ali Smyth, director of PR firm Electric Collective and part owner of food and music venues the Landsdowne, the Unicorn and Mary's. Whilst Lucio's represents the old guard of Sydney eateries, Ali is part of the new wave of the industry, reviving iconic venues with heart, guts and vision. And it's this energetic and soulful grit that feeds through all Ali does, whether it be PR girl, restaurant owner or mum. But most importantly, it defines her unique sense of style. Hi Ali.
Hello.
Thanks for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
I just wanted to start off by talking about when we first met.
Yes.
I don't know if you would remember. It's been a long time that we've known each other.
Yeah.
And I think that it was definitely at Cafe Sydney, and you were working with Adam Walling at the time.
Cafe Sydney. Okay. Yeah.
It was either a sunglasses event or a Carla Zampatti event.
Okay. It could have been a combination of both, which would have been OPSM, Sunglass Hut, and Carla Zampatti was doing something for us for OPSM. So it was probably a combo. I remember you from the showroom though, in Adam Walling, and I do remember you being pregnant.
Very
in the showroom. Yeah, those are my earliest memories of you. I think all of the events just blur into one.
Oh, I bet for you. I bet they do.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think over all this time, and like we've obviously both had babies since then, and we, you know, that was my kind of first major role in the fashion industry in Sydney. But, you know, as time transcends, you kind of get to know people, obviously, like quite well.
Yeah.
And I've always just appreciated that you've been always very authentic.
Oh, thank you.
But your sense of style kind of struck me from the beginning as a little bit different to everyone else. And I was trying to describe it to somebody that I was speaking to yesterday when I was saying, oh, you know, I've got my interview tomorrow.
Yes.
And I'm like, she's just cool. And I was like, oh, it's such a bland word. But I think when I was thinking about it last night, and I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, it's just that you are really authentic and that you do things a little bit differently.
Thank you. That's really nice.
So, you know, thank you for coming today.
It's an honour. It's a pleasure. Yeah.
So I want to know if you were always the cool girl, like going back to the beginning, were you a cool kid?
No, and I wouldn't say that I am at all. I think I've always been confident, so maybe that's the facade that gives what you would label as cool, but I certainly wouldn't say that. I feel good about myself and I've always been pretty confident. But I was a music drama, you know, I played the recorder a lot, which I get a lot of flack about. I was in all of the school musicals. I did all of the, you know, I was the creative drama music nerd. But I always had lots of different groups of friends. So there would be, you know, the cool group of kids that I would sort of infiltrate here and there. And then I would have all of my music friends. And then I was a horse rider, grew up on a farm. So I'd have all of my, you know, my horsey friends, my farm kid friends. But I, certainly not, wouldn't label myself that at all. And I think it's definitely transferred into adult life with so many different groups of friends. It's just, I love having people around me, and I'm not sort of a one lane type of person. So it's very much an eclectic group of people that I'm surrounded by. So no, certainly not. I've always been that and wouldn't say that.
So you were creative kid, and your mum's like an artist, and your brother's a musician. Was it just the three of you growing up?
No, my dad's a TV producer, so that was really creative as well. So we grew up with him working in TV, he worked on like E Street and
oh, cool.
Yeah.
Do you know? One of my good friends is Georgia May Davis.
Yeah.
And her mum's Alyssa Jane Cook.
Yeah, right. So I grew up with that, you know, because I grew up out in the Hawkesbury, and that's where they filmed. So they would film out at like Pitt Town School, and so, you know, we would often be sort of thrown in, which I loved, as extras, or we'd have like my dog was an extra for many scenes.
Yeah.
So so it was all creative. You know, my dad is very creative, and so grew up with that sort of side from him, and being, you know, loud and television and colour and all of that sort of on-stage presence, which is I certainly got from him. And then, my mum, just a very beautiful, soft, gentle, very creative, colourful, would weave us so many fairy tales and stories, and just a lot of memories, because we had a quite a big property of, you know, sitting in trees and pretending we were in a fairy kingdom, or, you know, just lots of really beautiful memories with doing that with my mum and my brother. But yeah, he's also a musician, also very creative. Sort of really got a little bit further than me playing the recorder and actually did something with his music. But yeah, always been very creative and surrounded by a lot of colour and noise and music, and my life is pretty all of that thrown into one giant bag.
Yeah, as I said, I follow you on Instagram. Sounds like there's still a lot of colour and like movement in your house.
There is constant. I mean, as I said when I first got here, I think, just even this morning, I can't even explain what happens before, you know, 8 o'clock. There's just animals and children and people, and then, you know, work and trying to manage this, and, you know, Jake working different hours and all over the place. So there's a lot of, it seems very chaotic. Sometimes it's organised. I would like to think it is organised sometimes, but there's a lot of colour and chaos. Yeah. Constant colour and chaos.
So you kind of obviously you were a creative kid with the music and drama. Yeah. Where did fashion start for you? Like, what's your first memory of a relationship to fashion?
I've always loved clothes. Always, like, I would sort of open Mum's wardrobe and put on her Doc Martens and band shirts. Mum's got an awesome sense of style. She had an amazing rat's tail with a ribbon down the back, short hair rat's tail ribbon, which was really cool at the time. Maybe could come back again now. But I think I've always loved putting things together. I've always loved experimenting. You know, things like Mufti Day at school, you'd be like, oh, what am I going to wear to Mufti Day? This is really exciting, and other people could give a shit. So I would always set out my outfits and plan them, and but I have a lot of memories of, you know, dress ups and my poor brother making him dress up and, you know, shoving socks down shirts and doing all of those sorts of things as a little kid and wandering around.
It's a big sister's role, isn't it?
Yeah. Sorry, Andrew.
My son came in during COVID. It was one of my daughter's favourite activities is to dress him up. So he came in my room and he's wearing like a one-shouldered Spanish flamenco dress, but he's quite pretty. So he's got big green eyes with really long eyelashes, and she'd put a black wig on him.
Heavens, and I'm like a beautiful little mermaid.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I've definitely put my little brother, I'm 5 years older, so I definitely put him through some probably not some very enjoyable things for him, but I loved it, just dressing him up in little kiddies onesies and socks for boobs and making him wear lipstick, which for a while he was completely fine with, and I think one day he was like, hang on, what are you doing to me? I don't like this anymore. So then I probably moved on to the animals, but I've always loved clothes, and I literally still have things from honestly a good 25 years ago that I'm a bit of a hoarder, much to Jake's disgust, because he literally rotates one outfit. Yeah,
he's known for his one outfit.
It's literally been the one outfit for a decade or more. But I still have things from primary school that I wore, and you know, now it literally is vintage. The tie-dyes that are all coming back. Yeah. I had them when I was 10, so it's And I've got a lot of them still.
Yeah, I also am a hoarder, especially when it comes to clothes. But I feel like they all tell a story.
I'm the same.
And so I can't let go of
so many memories.
Yeah,
so many memories. This skirt that I'm wearing was like from Gary Bajini, who we've just started to look after. Yeah. But I bought it from Pretty Dog in Newtown, which doesn't exist anymore.
I used to love Pretty Dog.
I know, I loved it, and Tanya was amazing. Yeah. And when I saw him last week, I wore it, and he was like, "Oh, you're the only person that actually has that in that size because we actually never made it, and we cut it. It was just in your size." Yeah, and I bought it, and I've had it for about 10 years. Yeah. And there's just little stories, so many things that I have stories for me and evoke memories. I remember when I wore it here, or when I bought this in New York, or I bought this here, or it's a really beautiful sense of memory for me as well. Yeah.
So in terms of like your teenage years, how did you dress when you were a teenager? What did you look like?
I went through a lot of different phases, as I don't really have one set look. I like to chop and change. I wouldn't sort of ever classify myself as, you know, either very colourful or very chic or whatever. So I gave them all a good go. I was the bushy horse girl, so I would run around in blunnies and joddies and you know, be a bit feral. And then I went through a bit of a sporty spice kind of phase where I had my kappas and, you know, my Adidas rip pants and midriffs and belly button rings and tongue rings. And then I went through the delightful, which I'm slightly terrified about now with my daughter, that delightful 16 and trying to sneak into clubs and wearing terrible knee highs and glitter skirts.
PVC?
And just like, you know, we called them the ham tops because it would be like that little kerchief thing,
I remember.
And then the back was just crossed over like a Christmas ham. It's so bad. There's just not much. I really gave them all a try. I went through a grungy phase, and wore a lot of docs and baggy. I gave it all. The rave phase, I had like really furry orange bright pants, which I loved. I really gave it all a go.
What from your teenage years have you held on to?
All of it.
You've still got all
back.
of it, do you?
Like, as in the items?
Yeah.
Oh, golly. Jeez.
I'm guessing that the orange pants are probably...
I gave the orange pants away. I'm trying to think of what I've got that I've... Actually, I have this Sass and Bide shirt when I was probably about 17 and I couldn't afford it, and I bought it on eBay, and because eBay was such a big thing back then. And I bought this Sass and Bide shirt that has like a Mustang or some sort of motor car on it, like a really cool sort of muscle car. And I thought I was so cool, and I still wear it now. I love it. It's just, but I went through a big Sass and Bide stage. I remember buying all of those t-shirts. General Pants was like a second home. You had to have a friend. I had a friend who had a boyfriend that worked at General Pants, and that was a great connection because you know, you'd have to have that inroad.
And your Mambo.
And they're all coming back again now. Like, you know, all of the vintage shops along King Street that have all of these vintage t-shirts. I'm like, oh my God, I had all of those. Like all of my Stussy, Ren and Stimpy, and all of these amazing vintage shirts, and I've still got a bunch of those as well, actually.
And you wear them out, or are they? I've saved those kind of things for pajama t-shirts.
Well, I do often double up a pajama as a going out as well. The girls from work will often say, "Oh, I like that shirt." I'm like, "Oh, it's my pajama shirt." I just didn't have time, so I put a jumper on and now I'm hot. So you sprung me. But a lot of them are vintage, so I think I could get away, and they are literally vintage because I had them when I was 15, which is a while ago. So
I know, when you start, I think, I haven't had that for that long, and I'm like, oh shit, no, it's 20 years. Yep,
we're old.
So you're wearing a Misfits t-shirt, band t-shirt, in honor of your mum, I guess.
Yes.
Were you a misfit, or?
I was a bit of a shithead, and I was the older, naughtier sister. So my poor little brother used to. He went to the same school as me, so when he went into the classroom and the teachers, you know, 5 generations down would be like 5 years later would say, "Oh, you're Ali's younger brother, well, you can have this nice little spot right up the front by yourself." And he was always the nice softer, gentler, sort of more like my mum in that sense. They're both, very emotional, sensitive Cancers, and then my dad and I are very loud, colourful Leos. So I was always a little bit loud and never malicious. I wouldn't say that, just probably got the Ali is distracting others on the report card kind of thing. Not naughty. Had a few little naughty encounters, but nothing stole a car. Nothing too dramatic. Never stole a car.
And what did you do when you finished school? Did you?
I went to uni. I finished straight up and then went straight into uni. So I did a Bachelor of Communications. I just wanted to be like Samantha from Sex and the City. I had no idea what PR was, and I've literally now ended up in it, which is great. But I just wanted to be on a phone doing things, multitasking, which is literally my life.
Yeah.
Maybe less her now, but I majored in journalism and events. So did what I have now ended up doing, but I didn't really focus a lot through uni. It was a bit of a party time for me, and had some really great adventures. Did really well, and finished up and then disappeared off overseas for a couple of years.
Did you, correct me if I'm wrong, did you work as a recruitment consultant for a few years?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did some digging, sorry.
Yes, I was going to get to that. I wasn't going to hide it. It's all about transparency. So yeah, I did.
Don't worry, I was a recruitment consultant for a while as well.
I've made some really great friends there as well. And I think, honestly, at the core of it, I mean, what I do is sales.
Yeah.
It's literally, I'm selling my clients to, the media. That's essentially what PR is, realistically. So yeah, I came back home, and as a lot of, British backpackers or people with a bit of the, people that like to talk, and enjoy relationships or fostering and creating relationships, fall into those sorts of sales roles. So yeah, literally fell into recruitment, had no idea what it was. And funnily enough, or weirdly enough, I was recruiting for accounting and finance, which is so far from what I know. Did a crash course on that. Could throw in some of the terminology here and there. Had no idea what I was doing. But yeah, I did that for a couple of years. And then went, what am I doing? I love fashion. I love events. I love colour. This is not where I want to be. Yeah. So got out of there.
So were you still in London when you moved into the fashion industry?
No, we were in London and Scotland. Actually spent the last year and a half or so in Edinburgh.
Okay.
But I met Jake in London, and then we sort of travelled around, did many trips with mates, and ended up settling in Edinburgh. Met some lifelong friends there, and we had to leave because our visas were done and we well and truly overstayed. And then came back home, got into recruitment and sales here.
Yeah.
And for a couple of years, and then I moved into fashion here. So so my first role was at Baker Brand, just around the corner actually. So working on GQ Men of the Year and Vogue Fashion Night Out, and my first junior PR role was across those, but also working across Mattel. So I was doing PR for Barbie.
Yeah, cool.
Which was, it was, I mean, everyone hears the name Barbie and smiles. So it was actually quite a nice little inroad.
Like, in terms of a love for fashion.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about you, but I know that one of the sights of my childhood in terms of identifying my love for fashion was distinctly around Barbie.
Yeah.
It was around dressing her up and undressing her and cutting up all her clothes and making clothes. And now I'm seeing my daughter do it, and I'm like, can't you just keep it, like, everything neat and tidy? But it's that creative spirit, which, I mean, obviously there's some severe issues with body image and gender representation, but
crisis management there. But they're doing a lot this was a decade ago.
Yeah.
So, but from when I was working on that account, they were doing some cool things from memory. She was being a scientist and an astronaut, not just a fashion model. So it was cool that she was doing those things. So that was quite fun. But that was my first job in fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going back to, you met Jake in London.
Yeah.
And when you met him, he was wearing like a jacket held up with safety pins.
Yeah.
And as we were saying before the interview, he has a very, anyone who knows him in Sydney, and a lot of people do, is that he has a very distinct style.
Yep.
How would you describe, like, I mean, he obviously wears the same kind of get up every day. So he's like his singlet and his beads, and
he didn't have that on when I met him because London is a little bit cold for a blue bond singlet. But he did have a rabbit fur jacket that was held together by safety pins. He had 2 ciggies behind his ear. He was lighting another cigarette. I don't smoke, so I was like, who is this creep that is staring at me on the bus? And then he gave me, like, very long story short, gave me his number and sort of ran away. And then I texted him, and we got together for a drink and went, cool, well, this is it. This is going to happen. But he then swiftly, when we moved back home, transitioned into a Blue Bonds Rabbitoh football shorts, or sometimes if it's very cold and fancy, he'll put on jeans. So,
well, I've got a lot of respect for it because my grandfather was he used to sell fruit and veggies, but he was known around town for wearing pretty much the same thing. So I have some affection for Jake's style.
It's an easy thing to buy for. I mean, he's literally, it's quite comical. He has drawers of like 40 blue bonds and like maybe 10, he's got like, he wears new denim jeans, so it's all black new denim jeans, like maybe 10 of them, and then his footy shorts.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then my wardrobe is like 1 million times bigger. So it does make it easy. He's a good, when I buy clothes for him at Christmas time, I literally buy like 40 packets of bonds and give it to him in a little box with a bow. I'm like, there, you're done for a decade.
Yeah.
It makes life easy.
Does his style feed into his attitude? And
he's pretty fuss-free. Yeah. I mean, we're both so busy, so where I put a lot of time and effort into the thought behind, what I'll dress for who I'm meeting that day, or so I put a lot of thought into that. So if I'm, meeting with someone that I know will require that more reserved sort of more corporate look, then I'll run with that, and to make it it's a way of making people feel more comfortable. And if I'm doing something with a client that is more colourful, or maybe at a restaurant or a bar, then it'll be a little bit more practical, flat shoes and a bit more colour, and it's a way of sort of breaking that ice. So to answer your question, I think with him, his way, he's bar world, so no one's going to judge him wearing what he wears. In fact, he's worn many other we've done Mardi Gras floats where he's worn sequined mini dresses and no one's batted an eyelid. But yeah, I think it's just his way of his ease of doing that. But then his whole personality and, his menu, wine list, venues will all sort of shine through, and that will be his way of expressing himself, as opposed to where I'm more about the aesthetic of expression.
It's funny because I've found through the course of these interviews that a lot of people that do wear more of a uniform, like the same kind of systematic approach to their wardrobe, use their creative expression outwardly to their work. And that's how he does it. It'll all be through cooking. Like that's how I don't cook at all. Right.
I'm terrible. Like really bad, not even a funny, I can't cook and here's something I just accidentally whipped up. Like I literally cannot cook. and I've tried before, I just have it just doesn't gel, and I've tried to cook for him a few times, and I've given him food poisoning, and and then I ended up in an ER because I burnt myself so badly. I don't. But his way of expressing is through cooking and food, and
do you think that his way of cooking and the way that you express yourself come together?
It's a really nice puzzle. I'm great at opening wine and drinking it, and he's great at cooking, so that's a really nice synergy when we have friends over. When we do invite friends over, they're like, Jake's going to be there, right, to cook? Like, you're not going to cook for us.
Or we're getting takeaway from the restaurant.
So it is a really nice synergy, and we both play our part in that, entertaining role, I guess. Or just at home, when it's a witching hour with the kids, he'll always cook. That's just what he does. Well, now I'll do the bath time, and so there's got to be that, both of us play that role.
in terms of your style, I think we've already touched on this, but like the thing that I would have defined as your style is, I feel like you've got a bohemian kind of take on things, that you are eclectic.
Yeah.
And that there's an underbelly to you though. There's like a bit of grit. And I think it's even something that you use on your website to describe your company, but or your clients, is that they have a jagged edge.
Yeah.
Is that how you describe your sense of style, or?
Yeah, I always think about this question: how do you describe your sense of style? And it's not sort of like I said earlier. I don't think that I fit in one genre. Like I wouldn't really describe it as I don't know, it's all a bit of a thrown together, but yes, you're right, that underlying vibe is a bit of an edge. Like I don't want to be the same as anyone else. I don't want my kids to be the same as anyone else. I think it's really important to embrace diversity and to be a bit different, and people shy away from that. So that's really important for me personally, but also with my family, and then obviously with the business as well. So when it sort of started off, when we opened Mary's nearly 7 years ago, it was all about bringing on clients that really had a bit of a grit, had a bit of, it's not just a facade of being a bar or a restaurant or a venue or a brand or a designer, but there was a substance to it that maybe had a bit of guts, which is really important. And, it's since grown. My business partner, Adriana, and I founded the fashion and beauty side a couple of years back, which has now grown and grown again. And between the two of us, it's very much about ensuring that anybody that we bring on has something behind them that is not just a beauty brand or a fashion brand or a venue. There's got to be, an element of heart and soul and realness.
You say that, don't you? That they need heart, guts, and innovation, or
guts. And for me as well, and for Adriana too, the business becomes, our clients become our friends, and that's really important. I don't want to bring someone on that I wouldn't sit down and share a bottle of wine with. It's just, we spend so much time building a business and dealing with our clients and dealing with the media. Those clients to me are an extension of family, so they've got to be someone that I want to hang out with. And I don't want to hang out with someone that doesn't have that oomph to them. It's just a bit boring.
But I think that has defined you over time, especially, as I said, we've known each other for like a long time, and I feel like you don't lose your clients. Like they don't come and go. Like you've been with Alice McCall for so long, and I think that it's quite obvious outwardly that you do have those strength of relationships
thank you.
with the people that you work with.
It's important, and you want to have that transparency as well. I don't want to ring anyone and pretend to deliver something that's never going to happen, and it's the same with all of us in the agency. We're all it's about educating clients as well. If someone asks you to do something, we're not a yes team. It's not, obviously we will make it happen, but it's not about sort of nodding and going, yep, of course, and then walking away and going, fuck, I can't do that. That's not a thing. You've got to have that relationship and that honesty and transparency to be able to say, actually, that's not going to work. This is how I would suggest doing it, or why don't we look at it in a different way? And it's really important to have that honesty. And when we're pitching out stories and dealing with the media, they know that about us as well. They know that we're not going to send them something or a pitch or a product that doesn't have substance to it. They know that it's going to be real when we give it to them because we're real with our clients. So that's really important.
So in terms of the cachet of clients you've really got a great mix of food, fashion and art. Are these all your passions kind of coming together?
I just think, the reason for the agency launching was that I love so many different things, and obviously we just opened Mary's but I didn't want to just be a PR for a venue. I really wanted to move back into fashion, which was, you know, where I started the PR journey. And I love it. So I wanted to surround myself with creative people that were designing clothes as well as menus and venues. And it just sort of evolved. I mean, we started to bring on, artists, and then worked with a lot of festivals. Mary's opened a lot of doors, with that sort of whole music landscape, which I'm really thankful for. So I wouldn't have had those contacts without people loving burgers. So that was very handy. And then when Adriana and I collided and started to build on the fashion and the beauty side, it's just things that personally I and she as well both want around us. Again, you know, we're there so much. You're dealing with them so often. I don't want to be dealing with a shitty product that I don't believe in. So they're all artists or musicians or festivals or venues or designers, or brands that hold a piece in me that I want to grow, and the same with Adriana. The brands that she'll bring on board, that we both collectively bring on board, are it's brands that we want to be around.
So everything must feel like quite meaningful. I think as you get older, you start to kind of really question yourself career-wise in terms of, is this important, especially when you start a family. I think you have to know that your time is spent in appropriate places. So you must have a lot of life satisfaction, even though it might be a bit chaotic.
I mean, you want to make sure that for me, and I know the team as well, we need to make sure that what we're working on is going to give something back to someone. You know, I don't just want to flog a dish or a menu. I don't just want to flog a dress. It needs to have substance and a reason behind it. You know, those designers are all doing something sustainably or ethically for our earth, or are the venues that we're dealing with giving back to community and opening doors for live music venues again, so musicians have jobs, and it's all, there's got to be meaningfulness. There's got to be meaningfulness. Made up words. There has to be meaning to everything. Otherwise, like you said, the older you get, the more you realise there's no point in pushing something that's just a bit of whatever. Like,
you purely don't have the time for it anymore.
No.
If nothing else. So you, as we said, you and Jake have really public lives. You know, he's running all these venues, and just the nature of your job is like literally one of the most public things. Have you found, does that create a pressure for you in terms of getting dressed in the morning, or?
No, I don't. I mean, the pressure would come from depending on who I'm meeting that day. So, I do really care about what I wear and how that comes across. You know, I think it's important when you have a meeting with someone and you're emulating what their style is. That to create an ease in conversation is really important. I don't ever want, any meetings or conversations or relationships to ever feel forced. So I don't think that there's a pressure in what I look like. I mean, obviously I'm a woman, so everybody has God damn, my jeans don't do up anymore. There's always that kind of pressure, but it's not, it wouldn't make a difference what job I was in. But of course I'm human, so, if I know I'm going to be doing something like this, we'll do my hair and put on makeup on. But I mean, look at what Jake wears every day. I can't imagine that he feels much pressure in what he's wearing. So it just is who we are. I love getting dressed up and putting things on. So it's not a chore for me to do that. And I don't feel pressure to act or dress a certain way. I would just feel the normal pressures of everyday life of being a woman and a human, but it doesn't create any sense of anxiety. It does the opposite. I love experimenting and playing with things. So,
I think that's one of the things that, as I said, I've always noticed about you, or differentiated you from a bigger group of people, is that you're not dressing for other people.
Yeah.
You dress for yourself.
Yeah, a bit of a mixture, honestly, because I
Yeah.
do dress for myself, but, you know, like I was sort of saying, I would wear something based on who I am meeting to kind of create that ease of...
But I think that's your empathy coming through.
Right, yeah.
Like, it's your sense of understanding someone else rather than because you're following a trend.
Yeah,
or,
for sure.
Yeah.
There's
because
nothing
everybody
worse.
else is dressing like that, you feel like you need to do that.
Yeah.
I've never seen you
Oh, cool. I get what you're
represent
saying. Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, right. I do fall for trends, but yeah, you're right. I like to sort of make it my own in a way.
Because I've obviously, like, I love trends as well.
Yeah.
That's why we love fashion.
Yes.
But it's just that you've always worn it in a way that, as I said, is very individual to you.
Yeah.
Not just to, you know, it's very easy in the fashion industry to get caught
Yes.
up in what everyone else
Yeah.
is doing and
Sure is.
how they behave.
Yeah.
And we've probably, you know, we've had to experience that both
Yes.
working in the industry, but it just to kind of keep that, again, that authenticity is
Yeah.
something that I really do credit you with.
Oh, thank you.
Let's go to your family life.
Mm-hmm.
It is, in terms of your social media profiles,
Yeah.
it looks hectic.
Yep.
How do you manage it all? And has becoming a mum, like to Luna and Spike, they're so cute.
Yeah.
But how have they, if at all, changed how you dress and manage your life?
Honestly, haven't changed the way that I dress at all. I read a lot of articles where a lot of mums say I dress, you know, for ease because I'm running around after kids and I completely get that. But I mean, I don't have a mum uniform. Like, it's not, you know, I mean, yeah, obviously in the throes of newborn, you don't get out of your trackies, and that's, you know, that's how it is. But they haven't affected what I wear or how I wear it.
Yeah.
Spike is a tornado, so he certainly affects, you know, mushed up bananas on everything, or just
How old is he now?
2.5.
All right.
Yeah.
You're right in the crux of it.
Right in the epicenter. Eye of the storm right there. But he, you know, Luna's actually not, doesn't have much interest in fashion.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, she's 7 now, so we went through the little girl phase of obviously wanting to try on any flammable, probably carcinogenic,
licensed product,
something gross that's going to blow up when the sun hits it from any of those delightful stores.
Yeah.
And, you know, that I'm embarrassed to have bought her, but, you know, of course she went through those phases. But now that Spike has all of her hand-me-downs, there's certainly, not that I'm at all gender specific with colours, but she was much more of a tomboy now that I look back, because he literally is head to toe in all of her clothes, and I wouldn't care if he was wearing a tutu. In fact, he does wear a tutu sometimes and loves it, but it is very much like, she's got a lot of band shirts, she's got a lot of festival tees that he now wears. But he's the one that has really shown an interest in fashion, which is quite funny for a 2.5-year-old. He'll put on my shoes all the time and he's actually really good at walking in heels. I'm really impressed. Like, sort of looks like me at 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm leaving Mary's, a little bit stumbly, but he loves it. We look after Ma and mine just up the road from here, and they're slightly a little bit easier for him to wear, so he puts them on and shuffles around in these little kitten heels. But I think he's going to be my shopping buddy. Yeah. He'll be the kid that will come out with me and help, you know, style me, and vice versa, whereas Luna doesn't have that much interest in it.
It's funny. I have a similar dynamic in my house.
Yeah.
So Chloe just wants to wear activewear most of the
time. Yeah, right.
And wants to be very comfortable.
Yeah.
And Benj is much more kind of style conscious. He also will happily wear a tutu while he's smashing trucks together. Yeah, exactly. I love that.
Yeah, it's cool. He made me put on his rashi when we went camping a couple of days ago, and left really early in the morning, and was adamant that he had to wear this crappy rashi that was like a little midriff, but he kept it on the whole bloody trip with dinosaurs on it and a high neck. Like, it would have been really uncomfortable. But he's really insists on wearing certain pieces, whereas Luna, she'll insist on wearing certain pieces, but it will just literally, as you said, be for ease. So she wants to throw on a pair of jeans and and her Blundstones and have a t-shirt, and that's cool. Whereas Spike's like, I must wear this high-necked rashi with the dinosaurs on it and a pair of your Ma and mine heels. Thank you, Mum. So
he's so pretty though.
He's a pretty
like,
boy. He is.
If he wore girls' clothes, he'd be mistaken.
He gets mistaken all the time. Yeah. Constantly. We were shopping the other day, and this guy behind the checkout said to Jake, who's holding him, he was like, such a pretty girl, and I ignore it. I mean, whatever, it's fine. He does have long, flowing, beautiful, curly locks. Yeah. But he kept saying it, and I was like, oh, it's a boy. Yeah. And the guy behind the register was like, are you sure? I was like, pretty sure. Pretty sure, but it's funny. I mean, people, because he's got long curly hair. Yeah. You know,
but I think it's the big eyes.
He is pretty, and the fact he wears a tutu. I mean, that can be mistaken. That's fine.
Can be confusing.
Yes. Yeah.
So obviously the band T-shirt thing is running strong in the themes.
Yeah.
So coming from your mum, as you mentioned at the beginning of the interview,
so funny actually.
Is your mum's style still something that kind of resonates with you? And do you see kind of, as you get older, do you see yourself morphing into the way she dresses now? Or?
Mum's always had a really distinct style, so she's always worn pants, always worn like blunnies or Doc Martens. Yeah. And I remember going through my really girly stage and saying, please, can you wear a skirt? Please, you know, coming to school functions or when I would be in musicals, you know, whatever, and she'd come and I'd beg her to wear a dress or a skirt because I was going through this phase. And I remember once she did, and I was like, oh my God, no, that's not you. Don't do, like, and she did it for me. But she's always had that certain style, lots of sort of shirts. I definitely dress similarly to her with that.
Can you tell, are you happy to kind of share her story a bit?
Yeah, story or...
Well, like obviously she's gotten remarried and you've got two mums now, which is unreal, I'm sure.
My other mum is amazing. Actually, I have three mums because Jake's mum as well, so I'm quite lucky. There's three nanas.
Yes.
So mum and my dad separated when I was about 17, and then just went, hey, I've always been a lesbian. Yeah. Why did I, you know, not? It's just life, you know. And in those days, it obviously wasn't as accepted. So, but my mum's a legend, and look, I wouldn't be here, and neither would my brother. So that's great. Yes. And we had a fantastic childhood with mum and dad. So no regrets. And yeah, she's got a beautiful wife. They've been together, I'm going to say nearly 10 years now. About that, they're going to kill me. They got married on the rooftop of the Landsdowne last year, which was amazing. Yeah. After the yes vote finally came through, so that was great. And she's a potter as well, so they're both really creative. Have a beautiful house up in the Blue Mountains and create a lot of art, and both have really selfless jobs working in communities of need. So it does often make me feel. And I think that's where the substance comes from, because, you know, I look at what they're doing, and, you know, they're helping their clients, you know, come back into normal life, or, you know.
Is that how they met?
They met through mutual friends, I think. I should know this. Yeah. I'm going to get in trouble now. They met through mutual friends on New Year's Eve from memory, and now I'm going to get in trouble. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they both work in these industries that is about helping, you know, people that need help. Yeah. And I think that has affected, you know, when I work with a designer, for example, and, you know, I'm like, oh, I can't get this dress to the shoot on time, or, you know, someone wants this and I can't get it, and mum's like, cool, one of my clients, you know, OD'd last night, and we had to, you know, so it really puts things into perspective. Yeah. They both have very big hearts, and the same with Jake's mum as well. She's just recently retired, but was a nurse, and has done some incredible things. So there's a really beautiful, warm circle of women that do things for other people in my family. So that's really cool, and the kids see that as well, which is really important. And yeah, they create art while they do it, which is lovely. So yeah.
So going back to then, like, what you, as your testimony on your website, Heart and Guts.
Yeah, you got to have that. It's, I mean, you live once. Like, if you don't have that, like, what a shitty existence to not have substance with what you do. And yeah, I mean, I'm really lucky that I've had great role models that have taught me, you know, to scratch beneath that surface and make sure that there is substance in what you do. And Jake the same, you know, having that from his parents, both of his parents and his siblings. We're both really lucky that we have family that have always encouraged that between the two of us. So hopefully we're now passing that on to our kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's got to be that common theme.
And looking into the future, like when you're 70, what do you think you'll be wearing and what your life looks like?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of terrifying, but also kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, thinking about that. I think I'll probably get a little bit more eclectic as I get older, because you'll kind of get to that place where you're like, oh, fuck it, let's just do... And I'm kind of at that anyway, but I think, you know, that advanced style trend is so wonderful. Those women are just amazing. I love them. And I would love, you know, to emulate that as I get older. And I don't know why I'm not doing it now. I mean, I half am sometimes, but I think, yeah, the older I get, the more, you know, over the top that I will get, which is fun. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to, we've got a farm in Dungog, which was where we were just camping, which we actually bought 3 years ago when I was pregnant with Spike. And I literally haven't been back since the weekend because life. Yeah. So we've just started to build on there. So I see myself swanning around in a great deal of colour and feathers and something fabulous,
and a
bit little grey gardens-esque with some champagne on a farm, but then, you know, ideally having a place in Sydney as well, because I wouldn't want to miss any of that that you know, colourful chaotic life here, and supporting all of our friends and family who have venues. Eating out and drinking out is a big part of my life, so I wouldn't want that to stop. And I don't know how many offerings that beautiful main street of Dungog has to maybe satisfy the appetite that I have for, might get sick of going to the bakery every day.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Ali, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your style story.
It's amazing. Thank you.
To the naked eye, Ali's life looks like a menagerie of kids, fashion, menus and venues. But Ali proves to be as much horse-loving naturist as she does passionate partygoer. Either way, the girl has a desire to taste it all, and this shows in her eclectic style. While she may lay claim to being a little misfit, the underbelly of her style is tailored to please. And it's this unique recipe of kindness, courage and colour that keeps her look authentic and makes her style cook.